equity crowdfunding has grown leaps and bounds over the past 6 years. But how is it coping amid the COVID-19 pandemic? I'm Azaria Tagaya. Don't go anywhere. Money Matters starts now. Hello there, welcome to Money Matters. On this episode, we're talking about equity crowdfunding, or ECF. It's actually a form of alternative funding that allows small businesses and companies to raise capital from the public through online platforms. And now in 2015, Malaysia actually became the first ASEAN country to offer a legal platform for ECF. Now, how is the sector actually coping with the pandemic, and how can we offer more room for it to grow? Well, to answer these questions and more today, I'm joined by the president of the Registered Digital Markets Association of Malaysia, Elaine Lokman. Hi, Elaine. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, Azaria. Thank you. Thank you for having me today.
It's our pleasure, Elaine. Now, as we said just now, ECF in Malaysia, it's actually been around since 2015 with about around only 6 platforms at the time. And since then, we've seen significant growth, various developments in the sector. Can you give us, Elaine, how has the ECF sector in Malaysia actually progressed to date?
Okay. Actually, I'm pleased to say that since 2015, much has improved, and especially since the operators ourselves, we continuously engage very closely with our regulator, who is the Securities Commission of Malaysia. And I'm very, very pleased to say also, the SC is very facilitative, in terms of supporting the operators, particularly the industries, as well as the companies who are looking to fundraise. So since then, in terms of the regulatory framework, much has progressed, especially from the perspective of the limits of fundraising. It used to be 5 million ringgit in total, and only 3 million limit in a year. And now it has evolved to, if you look at the legal framework right now, is 10 million, but the government has also announced early in the year that it is liberalizing that further to 20 million ringgit limit in total, and there's no more annual limit. And the structure of businesses as well. So at the beginning, only private limited companies or Sdn Bhd structures are allowed. To date, limited liability partnerships are also eligible. And the SC, as well as the government, has announced that they are also allowing for unlisted public companies to participate in this. Over and above that, the share structures have also changed. So initially, only ordinary share structures were allowed, as it was felt that it was a simpler structure that the public would understand. And now preference share structure has also been allowed by our regulator.
Okay, could you share with us some data on how much progress it's actually seen financially? Like how much has it managed to raise over the years since 2015 until recently?
Yeah. So I'm very, very pleased to say that last year, in spite of it being a hard year for, I think, generally everybody, especially businesses, even the equity crowdfunding sector, we were very apprehensive about the outlook for the industry in total. But it turned out to be one of our best years to date. So there was, I would say, double-digit growth in 2017, 2018, in the range of 40 to 50% growth annually. But last year, we recorded close to 400% growth.
I see, in spite of the pandemic.
In spite of the pandemic. And in total, we've raised slightly over 40 million, actually, ringgit for 183 SMEs.
Wow.
And 193 campaigns altogether. So we are expecting the growth trajectory to continue this year, especially since the liberalization has happened. And we expect to see different types of businesses coming to the fore to look at this type of alternative fundraising.
I see. So with Malaysia being the first nation in ASEAN to initiate ECF, does that then put Malaysia at the forefront in terms of ASEAN countries? What would you say is Malaysia's standing at the moment?
I would say specific to equity crowdfunding, I would say we are at the forefront, not just because we are the first, but I think our regulatory framework is also much more progressive. For example, I've already explained in terms of from the business perspective, but in terms of investors who are allowed to invest in Malaysia, we sort of allow anyone to invest, from retail to angel investors to sophisticated as well as corporate investors. And it's not just limited to Malaysia, but also to foreign investors as well.
I see. And with the country going towards an endemic phase come October, what would you say would be the outlook for the ECF industry, do you think? No change. I think, like I mentioned just now, when I say no change is not for the worse, but of course for the better. And also, I think the one thing that really supported the ECF sector during COVID, right, during the pandemic, was that everybody started to migrate onto the online platform. So, especially in terms of interacting with each other, online meetings is becoming a norm now. Yes.
Yeah. So, and even our pitching sessions, we used to hold pitching sessions in terms of investment pitches physically, face to face. Yeah. But it's been great because there are more people who attend the pitching sessions, because we are now getting more people, cross states, cross borders, cross towns at different times of the day, So it has been, I would say, an advantage, to the industry. And beyond, once we reach the endemic position, we see that actually progressing a similar trend. Yeah, but on top of that, we feel that by then the face-to-face pitching session can already begin too.
Yeah.
So it will just add value to the industry and to the issuers who are coming on board, who are considering this way of fundraising.
Yes, and opening it up to more businesses and investors as well.
Absolutely.
I guess. Well, we'll be talking more about what type of businesses can actually benefit from ECF. More on that when we return on Money Matters. Back with us on Money Matters, you're still with me, Azaria Tagaya, and we're still joined by our guest, Elaine Lokman, the president of the Registered Digital Markets Association of Malaysia, and we're talking about equity crowdfunding, or ECF. Elaine, now before the break, we talked about the industry in Malaysia and how it's actually progressed throughout the years despite the pandemic. Now let's turn the conversation to see who can benefit from ECF.
Yeah, okay, so I would say there's two major groups, yeah, so there's the entrepreneurs and there's the investors groups, yeah. So let's talk about entrepreneurs first. You know, obviously for entrepreneurs, the most logical answer to that is they're looking for funds, yeah. So it is, I would say, a very good strategy to look for alternative financing, yeah. I can say that since the introduction of ECF in 2015, it's becoming mainstream now. So those who are aware of ECF and they find it a very legitimate way, I guess, you know, and a more strategic way to raise funds, because it's not just about money, but over and above that, they do get a lot of market visibility of the brand and the business. So we find that businesses, there are businesses who are not just looking for money, but there are businesses who actually look at this platform, you know, in terms of gaining more market traction and market visibility, because to them it's cheaper marketing dollars actually, you know, over and above, you know, if they were to, you know, hire a marketing person or, you know, get an agency and so on and so forth, right? But other than that, it also gets them to gain more brand advocates for them in terms of their shareholders, you know, to actually market and promote, their business, you know, to others, So that's the opportunities, I would say, mainly for the business perspective. For the investors' perspective, now, prior to, I would say, ECF, you know, becoming regulated in this market, I would say that most, especially retail investors, they would most likely will never get a chance to invest in these types of businesses, because typically the type of companies that go on ECF, you know, it's only available to, I would say, investors when they go for public listing. And by that time, the share price would have probably been quite expensive, for a typical average Joe, you know, to be able to invest. So I would like to say here that equity crowdfunding actually is very inclusive, and it truly democratizes investments. The smallest investment that we have accepted to date, just to let you know, on an ECF campaign is 10 ringgit. So that's truly, truly inclusive, and truly, you know, anyone can put 10 ringgit.
That's from an investor?
Yes,
what
correct.
What about the largest that you've received?
The largest that the industry have received, I believe, to date, is close to 3 million ringgit. Okay. So this is where we say, you know, those with money and those, you know, with little or a lot of money, anyone can participate, you know, and you know, we've had, you know, feedback to say, oh, you know, they thought that it was expensive, right, to enter the equity crowdfunding market. It's not necessarily so, and this has been proven. And I'm happy to say that 10 ringgit investor has also received his return, because that particular company, you know, has exited. You know, it's one of the companies that's exited the industry. The first equity crowdfunding issuer that gave return.
So actually anyone can actually participate and become an investor in ECF.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I think there's this assumption that for ECF you have to be a startup or a technology company, but is that actually the case, or can other companies, let's say a film production company, somebody who's going into facial care products, food, PKS, are they able to explore this opportunity for ECF as well? Yes,
very good question. So when ECF was first introduced in Malaysia, everyone thought it was meant more for tech-oriented businesses, and I would say, you know, naturally so, because I think at that time only most tech businesses, they were familiar with the concept of crowdfunding or equity crowdfunding, and we trend to see. if you look at the campaigns in the early days in 2016, 2017, it tends to be more technology-oriented or technology-related businesses. And because the nature was startups, because generally most startups find it difficult to raise funds anyway, compared to other industries, be it from traditional sources or even VCs because they're too early. But I must say over the years, and especially with the liberalization of the regulation, we find that more and more different types of businesses are entering the market, and it's not just limited to tech anymore. You see F&B related businesses, pharmaceutical, retail products, fashion, films, content, any type really, So it is industry agnostic. Okay, and over and above that, you see now bigger types of businesses as well, because the limit has gone up further from the 5 million. So you find now more larger SMEs considering this type of fundraising a bit more palatable to them.
Okay, what about the entrepreneurs? Do you see more male or female entrepreneurs going into ECF, and how can we actually encourage more inclusivity in ECF crowdfunding?
Yeah, so yes, we tend to see a lot more males entrepreneurs, and it's not just in terms of entrepreneurs, but also in terms of the investors. And I think when you talk about entrepreneurs, I think it just goes beyond ECF. I think the issue of female entrepreneurs, is not just limited to tech. I would say tech businesses, I think it reflects in any business. I think generally we don't see many female tech entrepreneurs or female entrepreneurs in general coming to the fore. And of course, we would like to see more and more of female entrepreneurs to get into the game of entrepreneurship. But specific to ECF, we don't see as many compared to their male counterparts. So obviously, we'd like to see more. And with female businesses, we also see the trend of more female investors supporting female businesses.
Okay, so maybe some people who are watching the show right now might want to find out how they can actually participate in ECF. But hold that thought, we will be getting back to that topic after we come back from the break. Money Matters will be back after this. Thank you for staying with us on Money Matters. We're talking about equity crowdfunding in Malaysia, and we're still joined by our guest, Elaine Lokman, the president of the Registered Digital Markets Association of Malaysia. Elaine, so before the break, we talked about how the industry has progressed, how it's actually been more inclusive for the different entrepreneurs as well. And now we want to find out if some of the viewers who were watching just now and want to participate in ECF, how can they do so and how can they prepare themselves?
Yeah, thanks for the question. So, for specific to business owners, to get the list of equity crowdfunding operators, please do go and take a look at Securities Commission website. They have 10 of them right now. So the contact details are there and the links to the businesses are there, all right? But for business owners, in terms of preparation, the few things that, that needs to be kept in mind, first and foremost, you need to make sure that you have your audited reports in order, okay? Your latest audited reports as well as your management accounts in order. And the second very most important thing is that your business plan. This is a requirement. You need to have at least a 3-year business plan, complete with the corresponding 3-year financial projections, which means that you need to have your projected P&L, your balance sheet, as well as cash flow. Yeah, so that's important. That's more for the entrepreneur's perspective. For investors, only 2 advice. Number 1, please know what you're investing in, all right? When you look at a campaign, please read what they're offering, what type of business. Never invest in something that you don't understand, okay? And secondly, do diversify your funds. So if you have a pool of funds that you think you want to invest in an equity crowdfunding campaigns, do not just put all your eggs in one basket. Yeah, do diversify, and because like I mentioned, you can invest as little as 10 ringgit. So of course, depending on the particular businesses, and it goes up. Yeah, so we've had campaigns that accept 500 ringgit, 300 ringgit, 10,000, 20,000. So it really depends on, at the entry point of the business owners allows.
Okay, so when people are looking at the different platforms available in Malaysia, you started with around 6 in 2015,
Correct.
And now there are about 10.
That's right.
Okay, so with the different platforms, how can these companies and investors know the difference? Is there actually a difference between all these platforms?
Well, I think in terms of businesses, pretty similar. So they accept all sorts of businesses. But I would say the differences will be in terms of, I guess, some of the services that they provide, the fee structure. Yeah, I think those would be the most key difference between them. And some do provide more marketing than others. Yeah, some could look at their process differently. Yeah, so I would say 3 key things. How they process and carry through their due diligence. Secondly, the fee structure, and thirdly, their services, the range of services that they provide.
Okay, so now we are looking a lot at SMEs. They're looking to grow their businesses, especially in this time of the pandemic. So in your experience, what are some of the challenges that SMEs or micro SMEs have faced when they try to go into ECF?
I would say the first and foremost is the documentation. I think the documents that I mentioned earlier. So quite a number of them, they don't have, especially their audit reports and management accounts up to date. So that is the first one. And secondly, I think lack of understanding and knowledge on how to develop or produce a business plan and their projections. So we find that they do need a lot of help in that. But having said that, we also know that there are a lot of players in the industry that's readily available, to be able to provide those kind of services, and specific to various platforms as well. They do have partners who can assist. The other thing is the fundraising itself, because please do not misconstrue that the moment you list a campaign on your platform, suddenly the money just appears from nowhere. So the business owner have to work very hard to look also for investors, and there must be a strategy to fundraise as well. So build your community who supports around you. So the more community members you have, generally the easier it is to fundraise from ECF.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay, so with budget 2022
Yes.
about a month or so away, in your opinion, what would be some of the best ways that the government can support ECF in Malaysia?
Yeah, so I'm proud to say that the government of Malaysia has supported the industry since way back to Budget 2019. Yeah, Budget 2019, 2020 and 2021, we've seen them supporting the industry through a fund, a matching fund called My Co-Investment Fund, Malaysia Co-Investment Fund, whereby the government has in total allocated to date 130 million ringgit to support companies that's fundraising through ECF through a matching form. So whereby for every 4 ringgit the public or the crowd invest, the government will also co-invest with 1 ringgit up to a million ringgit per company. So we really do hope the government will continue to support the industry this way, because we have seen that the businesses who gained through this, I would say, the support from the government, this fund, throughout last year, they're doing really well. And we see that, to actually rejuvenate the industry, the SMEs, we do need the support from the government in this aspect. Yes. So hopefully this will continue. We also hope that the government can also allocate some funds, and you raised a good point about female entrepreneurs, funds to encourage more female entrepreneurs, as well as, I would say, impact our businesses, be it social enterprises or businesses that's focused in ESG, to encourage them to look into fundraising via equity crowdfunding.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have on Money Matters. Thank you so much, Elaine Lokman, for joining us. We really do appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And to our viewers at home, thank you so much for tuning in this week. We hope you enjoyed the insights shared by our guests on today's show. As usual, join us again next week, same time, same place, for more money insights that matter. Until then, I'm Azaria Tagaya. Thank you so much for tuning in. Bye.